Stephen, today we're talking about the history of sales, and frankly, I've been in sales a long time, and I really hadn't considered there was a history for sales.
Well,
please carry on.
Well, really, since Solomon said, 4,000 years ago, a wise man studies how to answer and adds sweetness and persuasiveness to his speech, was probably the first sales training statement. However, not much really happened in the history of time after Solomon, and until about the turn of the century, when door-to-door salesmen started to actually pay attention to what winning salesmen said. Then it really blossomed in the 20s and 30s with the advent of the insurance industry. The insurance industry really focused on their top producers to find out what they said. And it was focused on the salesman saying the right thing pretty much until the 70s and 80s. We started getting some tie-down questions. Closed questions came into that a little bit. Closed questions are things like, you do want to save money, don't you? Yes?
Yes, please.
Yes. And then you get the person to say yes, and you would grab a little bit of commitment. So the salesman would get you to say yes to different types of questions like that about 20, 30, 40, 50 times in the sales process. Sounds pretty obnoxious, doesn't it?
It certainly does.
Yeah, well, heap on a bunch of intimidation and control, and that was the state of the sales until the early 80s. And then finally someone came in with consultative selling, and consultative selling was open question selling, and it changed selling completely. And we really do some wonderful things for selling. Basically what consultative selling does is it gets the prospect to talk about your product. And it's a process through some very cleverly designed questions. It's a little bit complicated, takes a little bit of practice to do, but you're getting the prospect to talk about your product until they sell themselves. Throw in a dose of towards and away from motivation. Basically away from the pain of not buying. You're stuck with the same old car, same old solution, same old whatever you've got, or the pleasure of buying this wonderful new gadget, this wonderful new widget that will solve all your problems, and won't that be wonderful? And so that's where sales stayed until neurolinguistic programming came in. And neurolinguistic programming is wonderful. It was, in some cases, it was like the magic button. I mean, it was amazing. It did, you literally could press a button pretty much and get people to buy. And it was kind of scary good. I mean, it was so incredibly powerful. The only challenge is trying to use all the techniques. It took what was already a complicated sales process and it made it 10 times more complicated. It was like getting a doctorate in psychology. It was just massively complicated. And that's what I've studied. I've studied traditional sales. I've studied neurolinguistic programming, excuse me. And because it was so powerful and so incredible. But then as a sales trainer, I would go out and try and teach this stuff. And everybody was impressed. They could see the incredible power. They looked at it and they knew how incredibly powerful this was. But they also said, Stephen, our sales team can't do this. This is just too complicated. And so what I've done with the one technique is what I believe is, with all my heart, is the next evolution of selling. And we've gotten the power of NLP and we have put it into one simple and easy technique. And so I'm hoping that the one will be the next chapter in the history of sales.
Fascinating, Stephen. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.